92.3 FM. My name is Ijeoma Innocent, and these are the top stories. Election Tribunal judges call for prayers as it decides Tinubu's fate. First Lady alleges Lagos healthcare under spiritual attack after death of doctor in General Hospital. Miyetti Allah asked President Tinubu for appointment in ongoing ministerial list, and ECOWAS soft pedals sends a high-powered delegation to dialogue with military junta. On the foreign scene, North Korea confirms custody of U.S. soldier missing for over 2 weeks. Thank you for staying with us. The World News at 6 begins with the Presidential Election Petitions Court sitting in Abuja calling on citizens to put the country in their prayers ahead of its final judgment in different petitions challenging President Bola Tinubu's electoral victory. The PEPC made the call after reserving its judgment in the petition filed by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Atiku Abubakar, against President Tinubu and INEC. The panel, led by Justice Haruna Samani, said while parties and Nigerians should pray for Nigeria, the judgment date will be communicated to parties on a later date. And before then, the lead counsel for Abubakar, Chris Uche, a senior advocate of Nigeria, had urged the court to be the first to nullify a presidential election in Nigeria. Now joining me to discuss this and other issues on the World News at 6 this evening, we have Mr. Awa Omiko of the Sunday Editorial Desk. Good evening, Mr. Awa. At 6, so we do have a development that one would call quite funny, right? So the Presidential Election Petition Court, the tribunal sitting in Abuja, has called for prayers for the judges of the tribunal to help them make the best decision, in this case involving President Tinubu, the Labour Party, the PDP, and the other parties that have brought petitions before the president against the President Tinubu's victory at the February 25 presidential election, right? So they made the call after reserving judgment in the petition filed by Atiku and the PDP. Now, the panel of justices, which we know is led by Justice Haruna Samami, said that Nigerians should continue to pray for Nigeria, and to pray for them to make the right decision in this case. Now, all eyes on the judiciary has been trending for over a while, and judiciary do the right thing. Let's have to know what is right to do, since the dictates of the law already suggest what should be done in certain situations like this. Is it prayer that judges really need to know what is right and what is fair and what will be in the interest? What is to be done in the interest of justice? I'd like to hear from you, sir.
Well, in life, you can't rule out prayers. You can't rule out prayers in life because in the acts and attitude of man and men as in general, there is always that invisible hands of God, which some people call divine and others describe it as the hand of providence. But whatever it may be, we still need prayers. Because you can take the case of Solomon in the Bible. How he was able how God was able to intervene, gave him the divine knowledge for him to able to adjudicate on issues rightly. But in this case, God will never come to give us the rule or judgment over a matter which we are just being docile about. The facts are there. Let them work on the law, on the facts, and on the precedents of the law, and give us a standing order. What they should do, or what they should ask God for, is to give them the courage and confidence to be able to speak the truth. And that will take them to philosophers all over the world that say, give me the courage to speak the truth. If they can actually speak the truth, which is before them, not the facts, because facts are deceitful, but truth are always there. Is that courage to speak it? And if they can speak it based on their facts, I think we have a better judgment. And truth, no matter the number of years you hide it, will one day come to the surface. it is the brevity, the courage, the braveness, the courage to speak the truth that they should be asking for, not prayers to actually do that. Also, in law, there's what is called a prayer, which you begin to talk about the decisions, about the facts of the matter, and about every other thing. All these things are before them. Let them just be able to gather, because they know if the judgment is wrong and wrongly applied, the nation is going to boil. But what I submit to be the request of the body is that to give them the enablement so that when they come out with the rightful knowledge, the nation will still remain united, strong, and better than it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Omiko. Now, in this same Pray For Us, what was actually said is all of us Nigerians are prayer warriors. So when we go to pray for Nigeria and pray for the judges. This was the actual word of the judge. Doesn't this come across as sarcasm? Now, away from that, the senior advocate of Nigeria, that is the lawyer, the lead counsel for Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the PDP, actually urged the court to be the first to nullify a presidential election right here in Nigeria. We do know we've never had that kind of situation before where a presidential election was nullified. And even after the elections happened, and there have been so many talks of this is not what we expected. There have been so many talks of infractions during the presidential elections. We have heard more than once the APC and many of their supporters saying, look, the elections have come and gone. Let's just take the result like that and go back to the polls in 4 years' time. But now, Atiku's counsel is asking the court to be the very first to nullify a presidential election in Nigeria. Now, this is his insistence is that INEC's failure to upload results of the election in real time to IREV, the result viewing portal, created room for manipulation of the final outcome of the poll. I think it was on Tuesday, we were also discussing where the president asked the court to hold,
all we need to do, in this case, all we need to do is to go by the English precept, and go by the English precept and allow. There could be a rerun. There's nothing wrong in that. There could be a rerun.
Wouldn't we have to use, so much all of the funds that went into the preparations and the actualization of the elections? Wouldn't we have to spend that much anymore? This is a time when we're talking about cutting down the cost of governance. Wouldn't a rerun cost the country much more?
Well, when it talks in terms of peace is priceless. Peace is priceless. Imagine maybe you are checking your pulse, and that's it. There'll be dislocation of the city or the country. The price you're going to pay in that cost will be higher than the price the government would have paid in the run. Now let us look at what happened during the time of NSAS. Some of us are still licking our wounds. Let us imagine what happened during Abiola June 12. Some families are today still crying. Let us imagine what happened during Nigerian Civil War. You discover that some families have not been settled because their breadwinners were at that war killed. So peace on its own is priceless. So if the government is still going to budget another huge sum to say, okay, let's get things right and there's nothing wrong in that. But I believe, going by the law and going by the standard, is the election that is going to be on will not be the one that will throw canopy or whatever. It's going to be election by college type of election, where selected few people will come out and cast their vote. And it's mostly going to be amongst the party. The election now is not going to be as large as before. It's going to be among those parties that actually won. They will be the one that come out in majority, and they're not up to 5. It's okay. Out of all these, whom have we chosen to be Mr. President? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Omiko. Now, moving on, the Lagos State First Lady, Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, has alleged that an arrow was fired into the Lagos State healthcare system, implying a scale of spiritual problems. Now, the First Lady spoke while addressing protesting doctors at the General Hospital on the island yesterday. This followed the crashing of a helicopter in the Ikeja area of Lagos State and the death of a doctor at the General Hospital, Odan, from a faulty elevator which fell and crashed from the 10th floor of the building. Unfortunately, the victim was rushed to the emergency ward of the hospital, where she was later confirmed dead. Now, following this development, her colleagues besieged the premises of the hospital in protest on Wednesday and grounded activities there. Also in protest, the Nigerian Medical Association, the Lagos State chapter, directed all doctors working in the 3 government hospitals on Lagos Island to begin an indefinite strike. Now, the First Lady's comments did not go down well with several aggrieved citizens who took to social media to criticize her for making such a comment. They actually described as an unfortunate incident, and that it was the consequence of poor maintenance of the elevator by the hospital management and not any metaphysical attack. We know that Nigerians can be very spiritual, and this is something that no parent will want to go through. This is a medical doctor that had just about 2 weeks to finish a housemanship, to finish a house job right there in that hospital. Many people who work in that hospital, who don't even work in the hospital anymore, said the elevator had been faulty for years, even before they left. The elevator has been faulty as far back as 6 years ago. Isn't this a spiritual problem that was caused by a physical malfunction? If we are to call this a spiritual problem, really, as alleged by the First Lady.
Hello?
I'm with you, Mr. Omiko. Can you hear me, sir?
You see, since last week, I was somebody there last week who said a colleague of mine was the mother passed on in that hospital. And that colleague said, was crying of negligence. Said government negligence. And all those, it's just unfortunate that it happened to a medical doctor. In fact, my heart goes for the family. But the issue remains that government itself knows about the problem that hospital is facing. It used to be the baby factory of Lagos, if not Nigeria. Sorry, now it is now the death coven. People, thousands of people passed on there. They're passing on. Yes, government has done nothing. That list did not just start yesterday, not 2 weeks, it said 6 years ago. And do you know how the number of times it has been poorly maintained? And this is part of the effort we are paying for a gross carelessness and high level of corruption. People have been dying still using that same lift, but because they are nobody talks about it. They just put it at the hand of God. We should stop lying against God and Satan. These 2 elements are innocent. We should first do what we need to do and allow God to come in. When you fail to act, you begin to face God. No, it is our own gross carelessness. And government is going to pay dearly for that. In fact, imagine those living. Imagine the cost of destruction now. Would it not have been better if much effort is put in? Now, when they go on 2 weeks' strike, what happens to the lives of the innocent ones over there? Those that can't even pay for private clinics, and those that cannot hire private doctors, what do you expect them to do? Is it not forcefully passing death sentence upon them? No, government should sit up. Government should sit up, and it is high time we begin to hold our leaders by their balls. Who are the management? The management of the hospitals should come out and tell us what actually happened, and if need be, face punishment. Because for every action, there is a consequence. Let them face the right action and punish those that should be there. I think it's high time we face the reality of governance and stop using the party type of people to be put in place. These are some of the results of things we're going to face. And I'm really sorry that this is happening at this time. Just imagine a lad, just 2 weeks, that if government really meant its word, is to rejig the hospital, renovate the necessary equipment, and make the infrastructure up to date. That is not the only way the life of this departed soul and those they have killed in carelessness will rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so dearly, Mr. Omiko. I will take a little bit more of your time. Just before you go, speaking about governance and the ministerial appointments, lately, members of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, that is MACBAN, have asked President Bola Tinubu not to forget them in the ongoing appointments, saying they are even prepared to work as sweepers in Aso Rock, that is the seat of the federal government. The Southeast Zonal leader of MACBAN, Alhaji Gidado Siddiqui, said the call became necessary because cattle breeders across the country prayed and voted for the president during the February 25 presidential elections. He also explained that all the association wanted was to be a part of the government at the center, and that is all. The reason for this, why he's asked, why the MACBAN, the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, asking for appointment, any appointment at all, they say it's because they want to be closer to the government at the center, and because they prayed and voted for President Tinubu during the elections. Have our ministerial appointments now become a thing of, oh, do for me, I do for you? Is this really a good reason for any association, for one person to be picked from an association to be a minister of the Federal Republic? Now, on the other hand, if MACBAN is coming to ask for appointment, does that mean every other pseudo association can now come up and ask for appointment and representation at the federal government level as well?
Well, that is the type of politics we are running in the country. But that shouldn't be the case. Because if every association comes forward to ask for appointment, that means the minister list could be could over bloated. May even be running into thousands or even tens of thousands. But the issue remains that this same association that is asking for
you have less than 1 minute for this call
should bear in mind that President Buhari was their patron and was one of them. And I so much believe that while Buhari was leaving office, he must have left some of his able lieutenants that were equally ministers, and I say that were equally insiders, and must have placed them in one, two, or two other directorates or boards. But this is fascinating. Tinubu people are already complaining that the ministerial list is increasing per day, and that we need to cut down on governance. If he listens to all Tom, Dick, and Harry that are making for requests, or all groups that are making for requests, we may end up not spending more on the ministers than on the people. But once there's a good governance,
Hello, Mr. Omiko, are you with me, sir? All right, we will try to reach Mr. Omiko one more time. Unfortunately, we were unable to reach Mr. Omiko right there. Meanwhile, the news continues. The chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and the Government, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has dispatched a delegation to Niger Republic with a mandate to expeditiously resolve the current political impasse in the country. This comes amid the 7-day deadline to restore the ousted President Mohamed Bazoum and the threat to use military action to force out the junta. In the statement on Friday, Ajuri Ngilale, who is the presidential spokesman, said that President Tinubu's reaction was in line with the resolution reached at the end of the extraordinary summit of the ECOWAS held last weekend in Abuja. The delegation, which is headed by former Nigerian head of state, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, left for Niamey today Following a briefing by President Tinubu at the State House in Abuja, the president has also sent a separate delegation led by Ambassador Babagana Kingibe to engage with the leaders of Libya and Algeria on the Niger crisis. Both leaders of the two missions have expressed optimism on the outcome of the assignment. In another development, the National Executive Committee, NEC of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has confirmed the appointment of the immediate past governor of Kano State, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, as national chairman of the party. The NEC took the decision at its 12th meeting held today in Abuja. It also appointed Senator Bashiru Ajibola as its national secretary. The APC National Legal Advisor Ahmed El Marzouk had earlier resigned from the party's National Working Committee. Speaking, the newly appointed chairman said his main focus will be promoting party unity and defending and increasing the number of executive and legislative seats the party currently holds. You are listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. After the break, we'll bring you stories on the foreign scene. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Now on the foreign scene, North Korea has confirmed custody of Travis King in its first response to requests for information on the U.S. soldiers' whereabouts. The 23-year-old private reportedly dashed across the border from South Korea on July 18 while on a guided tour. The UN command said it would not give more details about Pyongyang's response at this time, as they did not want to interfere with the efforts to bring him home. However, the reply indicates that North Korea could be ready to start negotiations. The UN command, which polices the demilitarized zone, had sought information on PV2 King using its direct phone line to the North Korean army in the joint security area. The North Koreans had previously acknowledged the request, but this is the first time they have responded, confirming the U.S. soldier is in their custody. He is a reconnaissance specialist who had been in the army since January 2021 and was in South Korea as part of his rotation. And that is a wrap on the World News at 6. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that the Election Tribunal judges have called for prayers as it decides President Tinubu's fate. You also heard that Lagos State First Lady has alleged that the state healthcare is under a spiritual attack after the death of a doctor in the General Hospital on Lagos Island. You heard that Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria has asked the President Tinubu for an appointment in the ongoing ministerial list, and the ECOWAS has soft-pedaled sending a high-powered delegation to dialogue with the Nigerian junta. On the foreign scene, North Korea has confirmed custody of a U.S. soldier missing for over 2 weeks. And that's it on the World News at 6. My name is Ijeoma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live events,